Hey everybody, welcome to the Extra Point Show. Sorry it's been so damn long.
Yeah, been a bit of a hectic month and a half maybe.
Yeah, we've had a lot going on, and I mean, took a little bit of an off season ourselves, but definitely back.
We both had some rough things happen to us.
Sometimes life will give you a little kick in the ass, but things are gradually on the upswing, and guess what? Football is back. So that's definitely awesome. Yeah, definitely excited about that. We just completed the first week of preseason games, so every team has played at least one preseason game. I think the Raiders played 2, and the Jags played 2. And
wait, how have they played 2?
Because the Raiders and the Jags played in the Hall of Fame game. So those teams always have an extra preseason game.
What is the Hall of Fame game exactly? I remember.
So the Hall of Fame game is in Canton every year. It's the first preseason game that they have, and they play it at the Canton Memorial Stadium. And for example, I think when the teams were playing 4 preseason games, if you played in the Hall of Fame game, you would always have a 5th preseason game. Now you have a 4th. Every other team has 3 games. So you end up having an extra game, but it's when all the players are being enshrined over the weekend going into the Hall of Fame. They start the preseason with the football game in Canton at the Hall of Fame. So that's why they call it the Hall of Fame game. And this year it was
I feel like
Raiders.
That's something I should have known, but I never really pay much attention.
You do know it because we talked about it last year on our debut episode briefly.
Really?
So, yeah. Literally, it's been happy anniversary to us. It's been a year since the Extra Point Show's been out, so that's pretty cool. Made it a year, so that's pretty cool. By the way, if you're not already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the show, because we're gonna start kind of doing things a little bit differently. We're gonna have a lot of different stuff coming up for the upcoming season. We're going to start talking about some fantasy review. I know everybody's into fantasy football, so each week, I'll list off 5 different players at each position that I like for fantasy as we get, closer to the upcoming season, which, by the way, that reminds me, after the show, I need to talk to you and see if you want to do fantasy football again this season.
I was actually thinking the exact same thing. That's literally what I was going to say. I was like, that reminds me. We need to figure out what we're doing for fantasy this year. So of course I want to do it again. I mean, the first time I did it was last year. That was my first time. So
you did really happy to do it.
Yeah, with the second team. My first team, when I didn't know anything about it, and I was just picking different players I liked. Probably that team was last in that division. But the other one I did was I think I finished 4th, and then you were in the top 3, right? I think you were.
Yeah, I mean, I made a good comeback after. I think I lost my first 3 games, and then I went on a tear.
Yeah.
But
it's very fun. So I look forward to that. That'll be fun to.
Absolutely. So we're going to do some fantasy-based stuff, and then we're also going to get another friend, Flynn, involved for some pick-related stuff eventually. For people that like the betting side of the game, maybe some analysis as far as that, because he's quite good at that. Maybe he can give you some tips and win you all some money. So
I definitely agree. You told me a bit about him and his betting, and I think that'd definitely be a good segment to have. He does some crazy bets sometimes,
Yeah, he's the king of the parlay. He's the king of the parlay, and I mean, he might watch this and he'll agree. He's hit some crazy stuff. I've verified it on his sportsbook accounts, and definitely gets quite a few of them. But yeah, let's start getting into stories here and what we've kind of missed in the last month or so since we've done a show. Baker found a new home. Obviously, much was debated about where he was going to go. Obviously, once they signed DeShaun to what looks like now a really ridiculous contract.
I feel bad for Baker, honestly.
Yeah.
And also, the Browns are really they look really stupid at the moment. I mean, they had to envision that there was going to be some kind of a punishment for DeShaun Watson. I don't know if they did or didn't in taking into account giving him a $230 million deal guaranteed. But
I mean, I don't know how he swindled that deal. I know, like, originally,
I know, right? Like,
I remember when it happened, like, we were talking about it on that week's episode, and it was something where, like, Cleveland was out of the running. Remember this? He was like, I'm not going to Cleveland. And then Cleveland's like, well, we'll give you $230 million fully guaranteed. And then he's like, all right, Cleveland, sign me up. So, like, he basically, like, I mean, they were almost, like, in an act of desperation. You know,
that makes a lot more sense. You are right. That's because I
he
don't
was about to sign with, remember, it was
that.
either the Falcons or, who was the other? It was another NFC, the Falcons or the Saints. The Falcons or the Saints.
I just wonder if these teams that did have interest in him had the foresight to see there was going to be some kind of a punishment on him in terms of being able to play.
You had to, at least to see something. I mean, just because the you know, they didn't take any criminal, you know, course of action against him doesn't mean that the NFL wasn't going to seek punishment. And obviously, the you know, we'll get more into that in a second here with DeShaun. But yeah, so Baker, I don't even know if we said where he's going. He's going to Carolina, and they traded him for a 5th round pick, which can become a 4th round selection depending on, you know, playing time and things like that. Which you assume he'll probably beat out Sam Darnold and Matt Corral for the starting job, because Baker's probably the best quarterback on that roster.
Quarterback. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he didn't have the greatest season last year, but I mean, he's shown he's at least above average quarterback. I mean, he took the Browns to the playoffs. So
yeah, and I mean, I'll try to find the meme and put it up here, but there's a meme that's like, you know, it's like the most Cleveland Browns thing ever to replace the guy that ended Cleveland's 22-year playoff drought with a guy that, you know, it's like, oh no.
I mean, they did Baker dirty, man. I mean, like, I don't care about the Browns at all. You know, I mean, I like Baker. He seems like
I'm a Baker fan.
Those commercials of him are hilarious, where he's at, you know, the stadium and it's just like
he's an endearing motherfucker. Like he
exactly.
is. Like,
so
I mean,
it's really hard to see why they would do that to him. You know, like I mean, like, god damn. For DeShaun
and
Watson,
the Browns
which
really
is like
got
a big
hosed
gamble.
here. Yeah, no, exactly. So, like, not only did the Browns only get a 5th round pick for him, but Cleveland's still on the hook for $10.5 million of Baker's salary this season. So they do save $8 million, which Carolina will take on, because he was originally owed $18.8 million. So yeah, I mean, like, the Browns really came out of that situation not looking good. I mean, you replace like Baker, who's beloved by your franchise, with a guy that's not going to play the first. What's he been suspended? Is it 6 or it's 6 games right now? I think, but they're they're appealing it. Yeah.
Yeah, he has. It's a 6 game, but yeah, they want. I think they're looking for like a full season suspension.
Yeah,
but they'd like.
Yeah, I think Rodgers wants to suspend him for the whole season. But and then I saw something that Baker, or I'm sorry, DeShaun came back and said that he would be willing to offer, like, he's negotiating the suspension. Like, he's like, I'm willing to do, you know, 8 games
or something. Yeah, it was 8 games.
And
yeah,
like a fine, like payback, like $5 million. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right.
He's trying to at least play half the season. I mean, you can't blame him. Of course he's going to try.
Yeah. Absolutely not. Yeah. I mean, I definitely don't blame him. But yeah, so I mean, Baker probably going to win the starting job in Carolina. Obviously, his biggest competition there is Sam Darnold and Matt Corral. They also have P.J. Walker.
I do think the Sam Darnold and Mayfield. I mean, Sam Darnold's not a terrible quarterback. I don't think. Like, you know,
I mean, Sam
there's
Darnold's
a lot worse than him.
Former number 3 overall pick in the draft. I mean, Sam Darnold's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, he can play decently. So I mean, depending on how Baker's playing, I could even see Sam Darnold starting for them, depending on how they play.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll have to see. I mean, they both have similar skill sets, so I mean, I wouldn't really see them using one as like a Taysom Hill type package, because they're both like more traditional pocket passers. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens with that. They both played about a series in Carolina's preseason game, and we'll obviously talk more about that Carolina game here in a little bit.
It was versus the Commanders in their inaugural game.
Exactly. But yeah, now let's get into, because now we know where Baker is. Now let's talk about the DeShaun situation. So since we last did the show, Lots happened with DeShaun. He's now facing 24 cases, and he's settled with 20 of the 24 women. So I wonder how much of that 230 fully guaranteed million has gone to, just like legal fees and settling with these women. And, at one point he said he wasn't going to settle, which made it seem like maybe he was on the innocent side. Yeah, so now he's like changed his tune, and now he's like, oh, I'm going to settle. And he settles with 20 of the 24. So now it looks like DeShaun is a little guilty mother-fucker.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And this whole situation is really weird to me.
Little Ben Roethlisberger 2.0.
Oh, Jesus.
Running around the league.
The fact he got that 5-year, $230 million contract with all this going on, especially
Cleveland's got a lot of egg in their face right now.
I mean, it is. I guess it's theoretically possible that these women just all had a vendetta against DeShaun Watson and all decided to accuse him to try and get money. I'd say there's maybe like a less than 1% chance of that being the case. So, we know
they all just corroborated their story, and they're all just like, oh yeah, hey, DeShaun. I massaged DeShaun once, like in the summer of 2016. It's like, I don't know, man. I think like this.
That's what you'd have to believe.
He's just going around, maybe just doing nefarious things. I don't know. I mean,
it looks like he pretty much got away with, whatever he did. So it's why it's surprising that he is allowed back in the NFL. I mean, it's a settlement, yes, but like, what a settlement only makes you look guilty. Come on, you might be okay on paper, but like, come on, man, everyone knows that. That's why would you have a settlement if you didn't do anything wrong?
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, so Rodgers trying to get him suspended for the full year. Obviously, the Browns would have to play Jacoby Brissett in that situation because they no longer have Baker. And they also recently signed former Arizona Cardinal, former 49er last year, former Atlanta Falcon Josh Rosen, who played in the last preseason game. So obviously a depth signing since they're expecting to be without DeShaun. Now, let's talk about DeShaun because he is able to play in the preseason, and he did make his Browns debut against the Jacksonville Jaguars and played 3 series, where he put up a very unenthusiastic stat line of 1 out of 5 for 7 yards. I think he was sacked once, and
Rusty.
Yeah. He looked like a guy that hadn't played football in over a year. And while all that was going on, his play was happening to chants from the Jaguars crowd of "You sick fuck," and "No means no." So, I mean, I think we can expect that wherever DeShaun goes for away games and potentially even the home games that he does play, he can definitely count on fans chanting that at him and probably getting inside of his head. Yeah, and in other news, let's talk about some big ass contracts. First, just real quick, and then we'll get into the real big one. Just worth mentioning, Cleveland, who had previously franchised tight end David Njoku to a 1-year franchise deal, did get him on a long 4-year, $56.75 year deal. So he's going to be making that money. Obviously, probably won't have DeShaun Watson to throw the ball to him for most of the season. But, congrats on earning that cash. And the other one, obviously, this is the bigger contract. Kyler Murray, who had been, going through kind of like a holdout process with the Cardinals throughout the entire offseason. He finally signed a huge $230 million deal with $160 million guaranteed. So not fully guaranteed like DeShaun's.
This one's a little surprising to me. I know he's a good player. He's been their best quarterback in a long time, but I mean, that attitude he had at the last year, man, at the end of that game was just, it was a playoff game.
Yeah,
where, he just basically gave up.
Yeah, I mean the play in that game against the Rams wasn't very inspiring. I mean, from him or really the rest of the team. The Cardinals obviously started last season what was it, 10-0? Like they were the hottest team in football, and then he got hurt, missed a couple games, and he just wasn't the same after he came back. And yeah, I mean, there were reports that during the playoff game, they were getting blown out, and he just wasn't really expecting it, and just like kind of, I don't necessarily want to say quit, but I can't think of like a better word. Like I don't want to say.
That's effectively what it looked like. I mean, he basically was just like, "Fuck this, I'm done. Like I don't care anymore." Could
have been. Yeah, and then Arizona obviously wanted to see more out of their leader. He ended up taking all the Cardinals shit off of his Instagram. Cardinals then took all the Kyler shit off their Instagram, and then obviously it seemed like things were getting better. And then we headed through training camp, and then obviously he finally got his money. So he joins Dak and Aaron and Josh Allen and all the other quarterbacks that are near the top of that earning spectrum now. So
yeah, crazy money all around, man. Yeah, good for him, I guess. Like
the court. I mean, it's ultimately paying a quarterback that much can't be good for the rest of your team. But that's just I guess the business now.
It's hard to be happy about seeing that. It's like, great. I mean, that's gonna. If it's not my team, I guess I don't really care as much. But like that kind of thing handicaps a team when you got to pay a quarterback that kind of money.
I mean, like if
your ability to fill other positions with competent players goes down significantly.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, from the standpoint of being a Niners fan alone, like I mean, I'm not necessarily mad if the Cardinals hamper another position that they can't play a good pay a good player because they got to keep Kyler. That's
but it affects the entire league though. Just because that's the team that's in your rivalry doesn't mean that
eventually we're gonna have to pay Trey. Eventually we're gonna have to pay Trey if he's good.
It comes down the line. It may not affect you that season, but they have Kyler Murray and he might win them a Super Bowl or at least get them into the playoffs. And that's why they're investing that money. So you can see why they do it. When you have a quarterback like that, it's like, well, I guess we got to pay him whatever we have to keep him. Otherwise, we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. And let's see. I just wanted to mention one other thing here. Yeah, I think he's getting what it breaks down to $46 million a season. So this will probably impact the negotiations that Baltimore has with Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he's the next guy that's trying to get paid.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see when Lamar gets his deal. Aaron Donald also got a huge contract. He was debating retirement. Kind of wish that he would have retired. But
I know, right?
Yeah. So he restructured his contract to make him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history, which from a non-biased perspective. And just like a fan of the NFL, not just a Niners fan, like Aaron Donald deserves that money. I mean, Aaron Donald is phenomenal. Like he's
a beast. I mean, if there's anybody that does deserve that kind of money,
he's the best interior defensive tackle because like he puts up defensive end sack numbers for a defensive tackle. Like usually you're getting a defensive tackle that's got like 3 to 5 sacks a season. Unless you've got like a good one like John Allen. He had his 9 last year, but yeah, I mean, Aaron Donald's consistently got like 13, 14, 15, 16 sacks as an interior lineman. I mean, he's guaranteed $65 million over the next 2 seasons and $95 million through the 2024 season. That's according to Rappaport. It's a $40 million raise over his previous contract. So he was leading the defensive tackle market, making about $22.5 million per season. So now we got a bump to $31.6 million. So pretty good increase there. Definitely much deserved. And just by comparison, that is $10 million per year more than the next closest, which is the Giants' Leonard Williams. So he's making $10 million a year more than the next closest defensive tackle.
Well, and, he was probably the best in the league, so I guess it makes sense.
I would say so. And then he was quoted as saying, "I'm locked back in to go get us another ring. Why not?" So getting chills just thinking about it. Let's go to work. That's what he was quoted as saying. And
This kind of goes into another thing on the list here. The 99 Club in Madden.
yeah,
You know, if you didn't guess already, Aaron Donald is certainly one of those.
yeah. The elite 99 club that few people ever attain. I know Big Trent got it this year, so congrats to him.
You got
He was
Justin
walking around
Tucker,
with a
which,
99 necklace.
Those
Yeah.
are like those three. I definitely agree with. You got Devontae Adams. I probably
Hard to
saw him
argue
as
that
well.
one. Hard to argue
that one. Yeah. Josh Allen. I don't know if I'd necessarily say 99, but
So, I think so. The one argument I would have to Josh Allen is the perfect playoff game last year against the playoffs, where he was like near flawless.
Okay.
Remember how good he was in that game? Where like
That
they
is only
scored on
one
every
game,
possession.
but still,
It's
very
one
fair
game, but
point,
it's
though.
like it's one game
That was
against the
an
Belichick
amazing
defense.
game. Like, that game was crazy.
And it's not against fucking Jack Del Rio's defense. It's all respect to Jack, but like this is Belichickian defense, and he's just went through him like butter. It was insane.
Yeah,
But yeah,
there's,
so who else we got on the list?
Two
Did you
other
mention
quarterbacks. There's
Jay Tucker.
Yes, I did. I mentioned Justin
Okay.
Tucker. Yeah, is this like he's had to have been 99 before? I would think he's like been the best kicker.
Yeah,
in the
no,
league for a
these
long time.
guys aren't like this. Isn't like their first year. Like some of these guys
Okay, I
have been
figured
99
that.
before. Yeah.
You got Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes in the quarterback category as well. I mean, I obviously agree with Patrick Mahomes, and I guess maybe Aaron Rodgers too. I guess, but he's getting old.
I mean, Aaron won MVP 2 straight years. It's hard to argue that. I mean,
yeah, true.
and he threw like 37 touchdowns to 4 picks last year. That's insane numbers. 4,100 yards. Aaron, I mean, if they had a better defense and better special teams, like they'd have gotten by us in the playoffs. I mean that blocks punt is what did him in.
Is Tom Brady not 99 this year?
No, I think he's like a 90, 97. Undervalued and underrated as always, but he comes through when it matters.
That's crazy.
Regardless of the 99, I mean, if you ask me like who I'd want to have on like a game-winning drive, I'd probably take him.
Right.
Regardless of his Madden rating. I mean, he's done it about 1 million times. We also have cornerback Jalen Ramsey, who, I mean, he's probably the best shutdown corner in the league, so I get that. King Henry, Derrick Henry, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that one. I mean, the man's a fucking bowling ball. So, yeah, I mean, I'd agree with, let's see, I mean, yeah, I don't really have any issues with anybody. Like, my biggest argument would be, like, do you put Josh Allen there yet? But, I mean, like I said, based off that one playoff game, I mean, he's pretty damn good.
That game was pretty damn
He's
amazing,
pretty damn
so.
good. I mean, and he's one of those, like, quarterbacks that, like, I mean, he came into the league, dude, and he was completing, like, 50% of his passes at first, like, his rookie season. He was not a good passer. He's always been athletic, but, he struggled to, like, find, like, touch on the ball. And he literally got better. Like, if you look at his stats each season, he's gotten progressively better. So, I mean, he's somebody that's really responded well to the NFL game. So
that definitely deserves a 99 then, putting it that way. Because when you see someone grow like that into where they're elite, that's like
the
most
the maturation.
Yeah, when they start out and like you see some raw talent, you're like, well, because that happens all the time. There's always these kids coming out of college, all this raw talent. Yeah, let's draft them, and it goes nowhere. So any player that actually can make that jump and become elite is definitely the most. I mean, it's obviously great when they come out right away and they're great, but it's nice to see that maturation, like you were saying, and then grow and actually become a really good player. Even if it's 100%. Not for my team, I mean, you can't not respect Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's just good for the game of football at that point. It's just like because you really realize that honestly, Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen is probably the new Brady versus Manning. That we're gonna watch for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I agree.
And this one, so Zach Wilson. Turns out, is a real motherfucker. At least that's what his ex-girlfriend Abby Giles saying. according to reports. Photos were posted online of Washington Commanders receiver Dax Milne and Abigail, who is the ex of Zach Wilson, on the beach holding hands, posted on Instagram. A commenter proceeded to comment, "Homie Hopper," and this has all been since deleted, but Guile, I guess, responded by saying that Wilson was sleeping with his mom's best friend and that he's the real homie hopper, and then put 2 laughing emojis.
Was that ever confirmed? Do you know? Was that part confirmed about him banging his mom's best friend? Yeah, his mom's best friend.
Not definitive.
Not definitively.
From what I could see, there was
a
post that his mom, because I guess Zach Wilson's mom is pretty active on social media, and she posted a picture of her friend, and I guess it was some other chick, confirming that it wasn't that chick. So I don't know, but awfully
it's an
deep
awfully weird thing
accusations.
Yeah, and that's also kind of a weird thing to throw out as an insult. It's oh, he's sleeping with his mom's best friend.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
if
what guy in America isn't gonna be what? Damn, bro.
If it is true though, it's basically the proverbial Stifler's mom situation from American Pie. And we did confirm that obviously Zach Wilson and Dax Milne did go to BYU together, and they were college best friends and roommates. So obviously that friendship has deteriorated. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
So, and that's not all the news we have on Zach Wilson. Something that we do have confirmed is that he did injure his knee in the Jets' preseason opener against the Ravens. And it was on a running play, non-contact. He went down.
And on first down, avoiding the rush, Wilson, wow. He could have elected for the sideline, but instead he dives ahead near midfield. Give him a gain of 7. By the way, Zach Wilson, after that run, is down for New York, so they come in to take care of him, and we'll take a timeout. Bit of a sigh of relief for the Jets, at least for now, as Zach Wilson walks off under his own power. Here's that cut and that run. He elected not to go out of bounds, awkwardly cut back to the middle of the field. There's nothing readily apparent that you look at it, but he was slow to get up. Well,
the timetable for return, he did have surgery on Tuesday, but the timetable for return is about 2 to 4 weeks. So he is hoping, and obviously Salah is hoping, that he can be ready for the season opener. Actually, no, it wasn't against the Ravens. They play the Ravens in the season opener. I don't know why I said the Ravens. That's why I was thinking the Ravens. But if he's not ready to go, Joe Flacco is the backup, who obviously won a Super Bowl and spent the majority of his career with the Ravens, and he would be the starter and in line to start Week 1 against his old team.
I'm surprised it'd only be 4 weeks more so, but 2 weeks with surgery. You think that would require at least a month?
Yeah, I don't know all the details on the surgery. Obviously, I think it's an MCL sprain or something. Obviously, not a super serious procedure. It's not like an ACL or something that he's going to be out, but obviously they dodged a huge bullet because that was a lot of the concern. You see him go down in the preseason. A lot of people think it could be ACL. It's oh God, he could be out for the whole season. And
you never want that.
Yeah. Although Jets reporters have said that the Jets offense in practice has looked the best it's looked all offseason with Joe Flacco back there. So who knows? I mean, Flacco is a veteran of about 150 years in the NFL. I mean, he's been doing it a while. But yeah, I mean, if anything else breaks on the Zach Wilson situation, and we do get confirmation that is his mom's best friend, we'll definitely address it here. But I just thought that was a funny story worth mentioning.
Definitely an interesting story, not one you hear every day.
Yeah, no, and I mean, obviously, like a story of two guys that were pretty close in college and, like, now probably fucking hate each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Commanders Countdown. I guess this would be the first one where we're actually the Commanders on the field since the first preseason game recently happened. We've been gone for about a month and a half. Had some stuff happen. Had to take a little break, but we are back with football being back.
Yep.
Just quickly before we get into talking about the preseason, I'm sure everyone's already aware of this. It's been some time, but Terry did eventually get his contract, signing a 3-year, $70 million deal worth $23.3 million per year in new money. The deal comes with a total of $53.15 million in guarantees, $34.6 million fully guaranteed upon signing, and a $28 million signing bonus. So I'm sure that makes all of us very happy to see that Terry's going to be sticking around for another 3 years. He's probably the team favorite, I would say. Like, in my opinion, he's my favorite player. Maybe next to Chase Young, but I know he's most people's,
Yeah, I mean, now that you guys know he's going to be sticking around, everybody go out and get yourself your Terry McLaurin jersey.
Right,
and,
right. I'm
he's here
sorry,
to stay.
I don't have any Commanders gear yet. I have not yet purchased any. I still have the Redskins stuff, as you can see, which is just as good. But I would like to get some of the Commanders gear, and McLaurin will be the first jersey that I do buy. I don't know which. Probably get the burgundy one. It looks most like the old uniform. I like it the best. Maybe down the road I might get the black one. Not too sold on those white ones yet. I don't know yet, but
I think the black one would look good in like a Chase Young, like very, very Predator-esque.
Yeah, right. I agree. I mean, I do like the black one. It's cool. It is very different from what we've had in the past, but it does have a nice look to it. So, and we are different. It's a different name, so I have no problems with that. I just kind of wish they'd rework the white uniforms a bit to make them look a little more burgundy on it, because it's just the all white pants. It's just a little too much white, like it just add a little bit of accents to it, and I think it would be really good. And I mean,
a lot of the fan art we saw was really good.
Right, exactly. I saw a lot of things like that fan art that was better than what we're actually seeing. So, and that's kind of disappointing. You'd like to think they'll take that into account and rework some things. Quickly, also, I know most people probably don't care since he did nothing for us, but Ryan Fitzpatrick did retire.
Played like 6 snaps.
Yeah, right. So I know I even debated mentioning this because I was like, no one's going to give a shit. But I mean, if you are a fan of the NFL, obviously you still should care. Ryan Fitzpatrick was in the league for a really long time. Despite what happened, yeah, exactly, 17 years. Despite what happened with us, he still seems like a great guy. I don't wish him any ill will. Sorry, and at 39 years old, it's probably about time he does retire. So, yeah.
So, congrats to Fitz on a good career. Sorry you didn't get to play more games for Washington, but your injury did open up the door for the legend of young Taylor Heinicke.
I gotta say, I think I'm actually kind of happy he got injured, because watching Taylor, even though it wasn't like the greatest season, there's just something about watching Taylor play that's really exciting. Like in the preseason game, for example, like I hate to say it, but I was most excited to see Taylor play again.
The kid is a grinder. The kid is a grinder.
There's just something about when he's out there. I just really love watching it. And like obviously, I wanted to see Carson and how he looked, and I think he looked fine, I guess. I mean, there's been good reviews about.
He was 10 of 13, but those 10 were mostly on short stuff. Like he missed like a few receivers. There was one deep pass to Terry that should have been, it was a questionable no call for pass interference. Right. He did hit Terry, I think, once for a gain of 17 the first time they did connect. So there's definitely, some positive things happened.
Yeah, and it is only the first preseason game, so you take it with a grain of salt about how they play. I mean, Taylor, when he came out, I think he looked a lot like he did last season. I mean, he did the running. He likes to do that rollout, and it was just like. But I'm happy that he's the backup, like, because if he does have to come in, I know that it's someone we can at least rely on to.
Yeah, he's been there and he's played, and he's now started like 15, 16 games in the NFL, so he's a serviceable backup.
I mean, he beat the Buccaneers last season, the game I went to. That was the greatest experiences ever. Like, so maybe that's part of it too. There's just something about him that's just special. Like, I'd hate to see him not be on the team. It's like, just keep him as the backup for like 6 years, all right? Just let him just stay until he's like 35, all right? Like,
sometimes that happens. I mean, sometimes you keep a backup.
I mean, I'm sure he'd stay there for a small amount, a couple million a year, like, shit, why not? But
I mean,
I guess
who's
it's
the guy?
different than Carson.
Yeah, Chase Daniel and like Josh Rosen have made like long careers just going, or not. No, not Josh Rosen. Mike Glennon is the guy I was thinking of. Yeah, the guy with the
going
really,
around as backups.
Yeah, exactly. Just been floating around the league as backups for a long time. So, yeah, I mean, you can make a good living as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure he'd want to have a starting job, but if he's not able to get it, like, just stay here. Just stay as our backup, man. We're very happy to have you. I know most fans are extremely happy to have him on the team still. Like, so.
And I mean, like, a lot of people have been calling for. Obviously, there's the group calling for Sam Howell. Obviously,
yeah, the group that watches one preseason game against a bunch of third stringers and then says like, "Oh, Sam Howell is gonna be the future." It's like, guys, take a chill pill. All right, like.
Yeah, I mean, he did look good. I mean, with those 2 rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And, he hit a couple passes to, I think he was hitting Dax Milne, who we talked about earlier. Dax Milne and his ongoings with Zach Wilson's ex.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, and then I think he hit 1 or 2 to Alex Erickson as well. The guy that they signed from Cincinnati who's, like, in the running to be the kick returner. So, yeah, I mean, he did some good things. But, yeah, you're right. He was playing against the 3rd or 4th string.
Exactly.
And,
I'm very happy with, like, what I saw from him. He did look good.
Yeah.
Like, I won't deny that. It's just people sitting there saying, like, oh, he's the future. Like, guys, calm down.
Yeah.
It's literally one preseason game. Like, you got to watch more than that before you can make these, and they only do certain, it's very vanilla in the preseason. You're really not going to see anything actual real. So he's not.
The blitzing
it is an NFL
game,
limited. But it's not. Like,
the blitzing is
limited.
limited. I mean, you're not getting a lot of the stuff that you're actually going to see in games from these teams.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're not going to bring out anything they'd actually use in a game to really win. So that's why, like, if you never care about what the final score of a preseason game is. I mean, this is what, a 3-point game. It's 24-21.
It was 23-21. Yeah, that the
23-21,
Panthers won.
2 points. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, yeah, okay, 2-point difference. Like, whatever, man. Like, everyone, the players looked decent enough in a lot of respects. It was a good outing in general. And then I would say the bright spot, in my opinion, was Brian Robinson Jr.
Yeah,
the new
Brian
running
Robinson
back that we
tore it
signed.
up. 6 carries for 26 yards, and he had a couple catches, scored on a short touchdown. He was the one touchdown that the first team got.
Yeah, and he looked better than Gibson did. I mean, I feel real bad for Gibson.
Yeah, Gibson
having another fumble like that.
Yeah, we've got. I wanted to talk about Antonio. So Antonio had 4 carries for 2 yards or -2 yards. No, I think it was 2 yards.
It was that bad. I thought he at least got a couple yards on a few plays.
No, it was 4 carries for 2 yards, and he had a fumble. So on Tuesday's practice, he was working with the punt team and like also with the second and third team. So Ron kind of downplayed it and said that he was just, like they're just using like all guys in all different personnel situations. But I guess they asked Scott Turner, and Scott Turner was a lot more matter of fact. He's like, that basically wasted a possession, which is true. He's like, you can't waste possessions in the NFL, so who knows? I mean, Antonio Gibson was penciled in to be the starter, but I mean, with Robinson looking good, I mean, you saw it last year with us. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it depends on basically what we see in the next 2 preseason games on what they're going to decide to do with who starts. So if he continues to play like he did, and I assume Gibson's going to obviously get more chances in the preseason. So
of course, I don't think he's done by any means, but he's definitely getting punished. I think because of that,
I think so. Yeah, I think so as well. Maybe he's getting punished. So hopefully, it is really kind of scary to see him do that again so early on in a preseason game. After that is one of his issues. But I also was reading earlier. There's been a lot of great running backs. Like I know Walter Payton was on the list.
Yeah, I saw Walter had 19. Emmett had 15. Yeah, I saw that stat.
Right. So that kind of thing, I'm like, okay, well, all right, maybe it's not so bad. Like he still is new to the league somewhat. So I think he still deserves plenty of chances to show.
Yeah, I mean, he's an electric player. You definitely don't take him off the field. I mean, he's hardly the first player to have issues holding on to the football. So, I mean, it is.
He does also seem to have a bit of some vision issues and seeing holes sometimes. So the other thing
Maybe he needs the Jameis Winston LASIK surgery.
It might be, because there's been some times where he just completely does not see holes and runs into defenders instead, and it's concerning.
The thing is, I mean, you guys are deeper at running back now because, like, not only do you have Gibson and Robinson, you have J.D. McKissick, who you guys got from right back from Buffalo. And
I'm so glad that he came back. Like, seeing him.
You
in
guys
that
have
preseason game
Peyton Barber. I'm sorry, not Peyton Barber. Jarrett Patterson. Yeah, I don't know why I said.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what name that was.
You had Peyton Barber last year. He was on the team.
Okay.
That's why. I don't know, 1 year behind. Anyway, so I mean, he's definitely, if they keep 4 running backs, you assume that'll be the 4 right there. I think they also have Jonathan Williams, but I don't see them keeping him. I don't think he's going to make the roster over any of those guys.
Yeah, it seems like we have a very solid running back core, though. Jarrett Patterson's looked really good at times. Yeah. So it seems like everybody. We got J.D. McKissick, doing more of the pass catching run plays.
Yep.
So I think that's a perfect right there with those 4.
And,
so
and having a rookie running back can work out well. I mean, you saw like Elijah Mitchell was a rookie last year for us, and he set the league on fire.
Right. You never know.
So was Najee Harris for Pittsburgh.
They take off.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hope.
Absolutely. And
let's see who else. Oh, Curtis Samuel. We got to see some Curtis Samuel. Oh my God!
Did.
Finally,
Curtis
man
Samuel
was on the field.
Yeah.
He didn't leave early with a hammy or anything. He stayed out there.
He seemed to get on the field and then get off the field healthy.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, he looked good on his cuts. He looked pretty explosive. Obviously, they're being careful with him, but it was good to see him playing some snaps. So yeah, I mean, receiver with Curtis Samuel.
He even said to the media, he's like, "I'm great. You saw me flying around out there." It's like, that's funny.
Yeah, good. Well, I mean, you're happy to get him because now with Terry, now with Jahan Dotson, and I mean with Curtis Samuel, like if you've got the 3 of them on the field with Logan at tight end, I mean that's an explosive. Brian Robinson in the backfield.
Yeah, that's the thing. Also, a lot of our starters weren't even out there in that game.
Yeah.
Like even on the first few drives where our starters were playing, there's just some that aren't. They're still injured and they can't play. So it's like that's even better because when all those players are out there like week 1, I'm gonna curb my enthusiasm some. I don't want to get disappointed again. But
well,
the roster does look really good.
You guys do have the benefit of a good week 1 opponent.
Yeah.
Play the Jaguars, right?
Yeah, it is the Jaguars.
Yeah,
so that should be a nice easy win.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean the Jaguars. They did stop Carson Wentz 1 game short of the playoffs last year.
Oh I was trying to remember.
So they have.
I was like, "What's the significance?" Like, there's a significance to that game that I couldn't remember. That's it. Thank you.
That was practically the Jacksonville Super Bowl with nothing to play for with the interim head coach at the end of the season.
Oh, Carson has to win that game. Jesus, that's right. That's what it was.
It's Carson's redemption game, and then then he's got 2 games against the Eagles, obviously being the Commanders' quarterback now. So could be the Carson Wentz revenge tour this season.
Was not targeted.
Yeah.
Dotson played in Saturday's game, but did not see a target. So.
Yeah. Jesus, yeah. I mean, Gibson was outplayed by everybody. I mean, Williams had 5 carries for 31 yards. Yeah. Patterson had 3 carries for 15 yards. Robinson had 6 for 26, and then Gibson had 4 carries for 2 yards.
Ugh. God damn, man.
Curtis Samuel had 2 catches for 14 yards. De'Ami Brown 2 catches for 14 yards. Oh, maybe you're thinking of De'Ami Brown, like catching passes instead of Jahan Dotson.
No, because I know the difference. I was thinking because he's the rookie. I figured, obviously I was looking for him, and now I'm thinking about it. I'm I don't remember him doing anything, but that's because he didn't get a target. I guess I thought he at least caught 1, but apparently he did not. So that's why there's really nothing to say about him because we didn't really get to see him do anything. So hopefully in the next 2 games we'll actually get to see something from him, which I'm sure we will.
Yeah. Let me see here. And it was Daniel Weiss on the defensive line that got a sack. So he looks pretty good. Obviously, he's somebody that could potentially make the practice squad or back end of the defensive line. Obviously, they have a lot of guys on that defensive line that are going to definitely make it, like Payne, Allen, Young. What's the?
I would say.
Oh man, why am I not
thinking? Did you just say Young? It cut out because he's not.
Yeah, I did say Young. Yeah.
Because he won't be playing at least probably until the first 3-4 games is over.
Yeah. That's what I've been hearing, that he might not be ready for week 1. So that would be unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think it's expected.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be nice, but I'd rather him just,
He did get injured late in the season, with that ACL. Like, it wasn't like it was an early season injury. So that was kind of the downfall. I think he was injured in, what was it, like November?
Yeah, it would have been November because that's when the Bucs game was. So November.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Darian Mathis, that's one.
Yeah, that's who it was. Fedarian Mathis is the other one. Let's see here.
Montez Sweat, obviously. You didn't say Montez Sweat, did you? But that's a defensive end. But so was Chase Young.
No, well, he's still on the defensive line, so yeah. I just wanted to see something.
Daniel Wise, that's who you said. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, Daniel Wise. He's on the
game.
Yeah, he's the guy that got the sack.
Yeah. I got to get used to these new players and names. Well, they may not even stick around. You never know. That's the thing. That's why preseason can be a little. You're like, oh yeah, that's that guy's name. That's right.
So today, August 16th, was a significant day because the teams were cutting down to 85 players. That was relevant for a couple of reasons, because for the first time in several seasons, Troy Apke will not be a member of Washington's team, as he was cut, as was cornerback Devontae Bosby and guard Dion Calhoun. They also placed fullback Alex Arma and, basketball sensation tight end Samis Reyes on injured reserve, ending their season.
They're done.
So probably Samis Reyes is he was a feel good story last year, but probably done with at least the Commanders. You would probably assume.
Yeah, I would assume pretty much in general in the NFL, but he never really did much with us, so I don't see why. Unless maybe, I don't know how his blocking is. Maybe he can block well enough. Some team might pick him up, but it seems unlikely.
Yeah, that's true. Did he? And I mean, DeAndre Bosby was a guy that they just signed on August the 4th. So I mean, he's a guy that's been on the team for like 2 weeks. So
yeah, I've never heard that name ever in my entire life. So that's why I was like, don't.
Yeah. So I mean, he played in the USFL in the spring with the New Jersey Generals. He was one of 34 players that have signed from the USFL with NFL teams. So the USFL has actually paid dividends for a lot of young men, and they've gotten their foot in the doors and some NFL opportunities. So good to see. You love to see.
There was one other thing that happened recently, which they debuted at the preseason game. The new fight song options.
Yeah.
They played two different. That. Yeah, they played two different ones. I mean, one is like slightly better than the other, I guess, but they're really not that great. And then they also put up a vote for a new mascot. Off the top of my head, I remember there was a dog, a hog, like a pig, like from the old days.
You got to have the hog, you would think.
That's what there was also like superhero and like I don't remember the
fucking
fourth one.
Superhero, dude.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't remember what the fourth one is.
Like Captain Commander.
Too.
Like what the fuck?
Or like Cobra Commander, maybe like that fucking.
He was cool. He was cool though.
I've heard some people suggest that. I was like, actually, that's not terrible. But I think they really should go with the hog if they're not.
Yeah, you got to go with the hog, man. You got to keep at least some tradition, man. For the love of God.
I like the dog idea kind of, but like not really with the history though. You need to do that. But I'm not optimistic that they're going to go the right way with it because they don't often go the right way with things. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, ultimately, it really doesn't matter to me that much what the mascot is. I don't care that much about it, but still, at least maybe just like try and do it right for people that might care. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And then I guess really the last thing worth mentioning that we didn't bring up yet is there was a change in the coaching staff when Ron relieved defensive line coach Sam Mills of his duties, with what he was quoted as saying was just a difference of philosophy. Obviously, Sam Mills has been with Ron since Carolina, so he's been a long tenured coach with him, and he is the son of Hall of Famer Sam Mills, Hall of Fame linebacker for the Saints. So he was replaced by a guy that spent 17 years in the NFL, Jeff Skanina, former 49ers defensive tackle. So I mean, have you seen Jeff Skanina? That man is massive. He's so ripped.
Actually.
Like, dude, he looks like a bodybuilder. He's like 350 pounds of solid muscle.
Jesus Christ.
There was a lot of rumors of him. People were like, oh, they should get Ryan Kerrigan, or, because Warren Sapp had been there a couple times. Obviously, that never transpired. But Ryan Kerrigan was helping out in practice the other day. So he was back on the field. I assume you probably saw that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that maybe have to do with him retiring and signing that contract recently, so he could retire a Redskin. Maybe that's why he was there doing that. I mean, maybe he's trying to get a coaching position. I don't know. That would be cool if he's able to do that. Not all ex-players can go and be a coach. So just because somebody was a good player doesn't necessarily mean they'll be a good coach, but I would say there's a better chance.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And it's always cool to see ex-players come back and work with the team in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be, obviously a lot of Washington fans have been clamoring for that and wanting to see that, but whether he does that or, just decides to go with media, or whether he just decides to do nothing and just hang out with his family, obviously he's earned that right.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think that is pretty much everything we have.
Yep. We'll be back next week to talk about preseason week 2 and, the standouts of that game, and we'll have some other stuff for you as well.
Hopefully we get to see a little more action from the players that we didn't, specifically Jahan Dotson. I didn't realize he wasn't targeted at all once. That's why had a hard time. I was like, what did he look like?
Yeah.
So definitely looking forward to seeing what he can do in the next game the most.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Hey, what's going on, faithful? Thanks for joining us. Sorry it's been a little bit since we brought you the last episode. Just definitely had some craziness going on. But we are back, and so is football. The first week of Niners preseason football is officially upon us.
Good time to be back, right? I mean, right when the preseason started.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been out for about a year now. We were just, reminiscing about that earlier. So, yeah, we're going to talk about some of the latest and greatest highlights with the Niners, and also some of the standouts from the preseason game. So first we'll just, go over some real quick. I know this one happened a while ago, but like I said, we haven't been on the air, so we're just going to go through this real quickly. I think on our last episode we were talking about how Mack was unsure if he was going to come back for a 14th season. He has since decided to retire, which is unfortunate because, he's an all-pro player, and, he really solidified the center position for us last season. So, obviously, that opens up the opportunities for guys like Donovan West, Danny Brunskill to win that center job. But, congratulations to Mack, 13 long seasons in the NFL. And
that's a long time for a center.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very physical position. And on the way out, being the consummate professional, he agreed to rework his deal, which is kind of similar if you think about it, because I don't know if you remember, but remember Weston Richburg, our center from the year before, had to retire due to injury, and he did the same thing. So he reworked his deal from $3.3 million to $1.2 million to save the Niners a little bit more money. So appreciate you there, Big Mac.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and let's see here. Yeah, I actually mentioned that Weston Richburg did the same thing in my notes there. The Niners obviously elected to not pursue a veteran center on the free agent market like former Brown and Packer J.C. Treader. Instead, they're going to stick with the guys that they have, like, as we mentioned, Danny Brunskill, Donovan West is in the mix as well. They've got a few other guys that just aren't coming to mind right now. But yeah, I mean, Mack, 36 years old. He earned a 7th Pro Bowl honor last year. So 7 Pro Bowls in 13 seasons. So, pretty impressive there. He had long runs. Yeah. He's definitely a hell of a player. He had long runs in Cleveland and Atlanta before joining the Niners. And D Ford has officially been released. We've talked about him a lot. It was anticipated that he would be released. He officially was. He's been excused from minicamp and everything like that. This has always been expected. So D Ford, who was 31 years old, played in 7 games combined in the last 2 seasons with various back and neck injuries. We originally he came to San Francisco in 2019 on a 5-year, $85.5 million extension when we got him from the Chiefs. And he ended up producing in 18 games, 9.5 sacks. So, he really didn't get on the field very much for us at all. When he was on the field, he was disruptive, but he wasn't on the field very much. In his final year,
9.5 and 18 isn't terrible, but yeah,
it's like exactly, the reliability just wasn't there. And the final year in Kansas City, he had put up a career high 13 sacks. So obviously, he looked like he was a dominant player coming over. He just couldn't stay healthy. So he is now moving on to the next. I don't know if that means that he's going to be retiring from the game, but he's definitely not on the team any longer. Also, another player that was excused from minicamp and has now shown up for the training camp, although he has not been a participant, is quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. It is expected that he will probably be released, if not traded, by the time the final cutdowns roll around. So, obviously the Niners haven't been able to find a suitable trade partner at any point throughout the offseason.
You would think, with the way things have gone with Cleveland, that they would be one of the top teams that might be seeking his assistance.
Yeah, and also
the problems with DeShaun.
Right. Yeah, I would think Cleveland would be a place, and then also the Jets were rumored after Zach Wilson got hurt. Obviously, Salah being the head coach in New York has connections to Jimmy. So if it was going to be something more than 2 to 4 weeks, and probably if they didn't have Flacco, I think they might have called Jimmy, because they could have probably gotten a pretty good deal.
That's right. They do have Flacco though, so they probably won't.
Yeah, Flacco's got a.
Seems like Cleveland's really his only chance at this point. The only team that might be interested.
An injury can happen at any point here going into the second week of the preseason. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, there's definitely not a lot of places. The Niners are expected to hold on to Jimmy until the final cutdowns. Obviously, you don't want to release him, and God forbid he goes to a team like Seattle.
Right. Oh, I've also heard Seattle possibly being in that talk as well.
Yeah.
Not as much, but yeah, that could be a potential. But he'd have to be released before they could get him, because obviously they're never gonna trade him to Seattle.
Right. Yeah, you probably wouldn't intentionally want to do that, because they do do believe that Jimmy's a good player. So, but Jimmy's been at training camp. He's been throwing on the side field. Obviously, he seems to be fully recovered. He looks good. But the Niners have no intention of playing him in the preseason, because obviously, as you and I have discussed, if Jimmy were to get injured in a preseason game, the Niners are on the hook for his full $24.2 million salary for this season. So
I didn't realize that. No wonder they're not going to play him.
Yeah, that's
too big of a risk.
It wouldn't make sense. But Jimmy has been, a professional for us for the last several seasons, so, we want to thank him for his time, but it does seem like the team has, completely shifted over to Trey Lance at this point. With him getting the start in the preseason game, it's been said by Kyle many times that this is Trey's team now. So we'll have to see where Jimmy ends up. I definitely don't think his career's over, though. I mean, he's going to end up somewhere.
I wouldn't think so.
I mean,
he's in at least top half of the league in quarterbacks. So
yeah, I mean, as limited as he is, like Jimmy Garoppolo is a good football player. Like he wouldn't be in the NFL if he didn't have talent. I mean, he's definitely got limitations, but if you put him in a good offense and surround him with weapons and a good offensive line, he can do some really good things for you. And especially if you give him time to learn your offense, like he gradually got more comfortable with our offense.
Right.
Oh, and the other thing, just one other team worth mentioning. He's also been linked, even though they've got Tua, to the Dolphins several times because of Mike McDaniel. So, I mean, if they're not 100% sold on Tua, maybe they kick the tires on Jimmy G.
Maybe. I mean, you think they'd rather go with younger than older, but I guess they'd have to really be thinking Tua's not going to work for them, I would think. And
I don't know how I didn't mention this one first. I should have just let off the episode with this, but Deebo Samuel, we talked about in the Commanders segment that they got their star receiver locked down, Terry McLaurin. Well, we got ours. We did get Deebo on a 3-year, $73.5 million deal over 5 years. That has $58 million in guarantees. It was announced by Schefter. Schefter's always breaking that news. John Lynch was quoted as saying, "They're overjoyed to have come together with Deebo to keep him with the 49ers for years to come. Deebo has the rare ability to not only play a unique level, but to inspire his teammates with the way he plays. He's a special player that embodies will-meeting skill. We're proud to move forward with him as an integral leader and foundational piece of our team." So
yeah, absolutely. If they hadn't re-signed Deebo, man, that would have just been awful. Absolutely awful.
Yeah, no, I
just
mean,
like if the Commanders didn't get Terry, dude, it did just as bad. Like
we were
just
having
hurt your
to,
soul. You'd be like, no.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we had to think about the possibility of potentially losing him, but obviously,
I know
because
you always
as the season
do.
Progressed, as the season progressed, and there wasn't a deal like for both of us, that we were like, oh God, is this going to get done?
Like Jesus Christ.
But yeah, I
man,
mean, this has been a crazy offseason for receivers. I just want to bring this up real quick. Deebo's the 7th wideout this offseason to sign a deal worth at least $24 million per year. Seven.
Wow.
These contracts
before
the season,
so high. Yeah. Jesus.
But before this season, only DeAndre Hopkins was making that much. Now there's 8 of them. Now there's 8. It's crazy.
Yeah,
the receiver market is just blown up, dude. It's just crazy.
It's gonna be so hard to keep a full roster together of with all these players getting all this money nowadays. It's just those are days of the past. You're never gonna have like an elite team. It's always gonna be more money is gonna be going into certain positions in order to keep those.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take away. It's the old rob Peter to save Paul situation where you're gonna have to take away money from the defensive side of the ball to invest in your $24 million a year receiver. So it's the new NFL though. I mean, and obviously of the 4, Deebo got his money and stayed. Terry got his money and stayed. AJ Brown was the one that left. He got traded to the Eagles from the Titans. And then DK is the only one that hasn't been, or did he get his money? No, I don't think he's gotten his money yet.
I don't actually know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
If he hasn't, I thought he honestly did.
Maybe he did.
Contract.
We'll have to look it up.
Let's see. 73-year, $72 million extension on Friday. Well,
he did.
This is from July 30th, but includes a $30 million signing bonus, the largest for a wide receiver. and a total of $58 million guaranteed. So he got 72. What do you say Debo got? 73.5, and then Terry got like 70. Terry got 71 or 70.
Yeah. Dude,
so like
they all do that shit where they try to like get like they're just
like a little bit more.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, Scary Terry just got 71, man, so I'm gonna need 73.
Trent Williams totally did that over like Teron Armstead, the other highest paid left tackle. Like he made sure he got like $5 million or like a $500,000 more than him. they all do that.
Yeah.
Do that shit sometimes.
They're like I gotta step you up, man. I get a little more.
Yeah.
It says Terry's is a $68.2 million contract actually.
Okay.
But this article then says up to $71 million, so I don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, there's some incentives in there.
So
There's
I guess
some
maybe
incentives.
So yeah, they are basically all the same, right in the same,
Yeah.
within 3-4 million of each other. So
that's
the going rate for a team's top receiver at this point.
Yeah.
And you only expect one receiver on a team to be getting that. I don't think the team's gonna be able to invest
I mean, obviously
$25 million a year in 2 receivers like that. It's insane.
Yeah. Brandon Ayuk's not getting that kind of money.
Exactly.
Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel. Well, Curtis is getting pretty good money, but like he's not getting that kind of money.
Not that good of money, and he doesn't deserve it given his injury history. If he comes out and balls out, then maybe Curtis can ask for some more money. But until that time,
Curtis, come back to the negotiating table next year and talk to us.
Yeah, it's like you actually play this whole season and actually give us what we were hoping from you. Then at that point, but then you got Terry getting paid, so it's like it's really tough with these contracts, and then when another player, if they start to look really good or almost as good as Terry, and he wants the same kind of money, they're not going to get it. I would think most teams can't afford that. So then
that's when you have to let a guy walk. That's when you let a guy walk, and that's why like the Cardinals, who really liked Christian Kirk, let Christian Kirk, who's like never been more than like a third string receiver, go to Jacksonville, where he's making like wide receiver 1 money now in free agency.
Yeah.
So like. Sometimes you just can't pay. You just can't pay.
Yeah,
everybody.
I mean, if another team is willing to pay someone that kind of money, and then at that point your hands are tied. You're like, well, I'm sorry, bro, but I can't do that.
We did all we can for you. So I mean, now that just the last thing on the Debo situation that I'll mention is because a lot was made of him potentially not wanting to be used out of the backfield, and he came out and said that was false. He said that there was a lot of situations that he couldn't really comment on much. I guess he was probably instructed by his agent probably to not say much, but he's like, I couldn't really get into the situation. But he's like, it was never about usage. It was just about making sure that he got the money. So apparently Debo didn't have an issue with being used out of the backfield. And,
I mean, I would expect him to maybe have like a little issue with it. Like, you don't need to use me quite that much. You do have other running backs. Like
there was probably some some
like that's
discussion.
A valid argument when he is such a good receiver. It's like,
and I agree. I mean, I think you probably remember me telling you during the season that I was like, we're doing this way too much with him. Yeah, I was like, exactly. I wish that we would throw out to him wide because like he's a wide receiver. That's his position. It's like that's
right.
It's great when. I love calling it the Debo special. I love the play, but it's like, we ran it 59 times. We ran him last year.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's too much. We've got 2 good. Okay, so like running backs that we have, we've got rookie Tyrion Davis Price. We have Jeff Wilson Jr. We have Elijah Mitchell. We have Jermichael Hasty. We've got several good running backs. Then we've got the juice at fullback.
Last year,
who can
same
also
thing.
run.
Last year you did too. That's why it was kind of bad. Like you would think he'd have some issue. Like why? There is a lot of running backs here that are decent. Like why am I doing this much? Like come on.
Yeah.
But if they want him to, I guess if he has no problem with it, then great. But you got to take care of your body, man.
Absolutely.
You can't do too much. So even if the player wants to do that, sometimes that's when the coaching staff needs to be like, no, man. You need to take care of yourself. Like, we need you healthy.
Yep. So, the Niners played their first preseason game against the Packers, who we have a long-standing rivalry with, and we managed to get the meaningless preseason dub, but it's always good to win 28-21 over the Packers. We're just going to talk about the game a little bit and talk about some of the players that stood out, and then just close it out with some of the final roster cut downs, because today, the 16th, they're trimming down to 85 players. So, obviously, as we've talked about, the Trey Lance era is in full effect. So Trey Lance got the start. Definitely big news for the Niners. He ended up playing what was a total of 11 plays. His first drive came out, led the Niners down the field to a field goal. Yep.
Disregard that.
Yeah, and he was a little off at first. Obviously, he hit Ross Dwelley, our backup tight end, a little bit high on a pass. It was like a 3-yard gain. Ross could have gotten some more yards if the ball would have been better located.
Placed better, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There was also a couple times where he missed a couple receivers just off the mark a little bit. He did on his second drive. Kyle sent him out for a second drive because he said he wanted to see him for about 10 plays, and he ended up playing 11. He did hit third-round draft pick Danny Gray in stride, so he didn't have to turn around for the ball or anything. He actually hit him in stride, his best throw of the day, on a long 76-yard touchdown pass. So that was the way that he closed out his day, so ending on a positive note. And like you mentioned, his scramble was probably one of his better plays as well.
Yeah, his scrambles are always good. I mean, that's obviously his strong suit, so it's more whether or not how much he's worked on his passing. And that deep pass was really nice. That definitely shows a lot of promise. It just seems like he still needs to work on the accuracy, especially on the short
and
throws.
Intermediate.
It's like routes, you would think those would be the easier throws, but he makes that bomb down the field, which was beautiful. But then he throws it way off when it's 4 yards away.
Well, when we talked about it earlier, that's kind of how Josh Allen was at first. Remember how I said Josh Allen? It took him a couple years to learn how to locate, and now Josh Allen throws everything good. So
right.
We can hope that
I mean, he's got the arm strength if he could, like Josh Allen, I would think. I mean, Josh Allen's he might have a bigger arm, I don't know, but pretty close, I would think. So if
they're right around there.
Trajectory.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, he looked pretty good for 10 plays. Obviously, there's definitely things to work on. He's has up and down days in training camp and practice, as we always hear about every day. But that's to be expected, and he's also going up against a pretty solid defense in the Niners defense. I mean, I think we ranked third in the NFL last year, so we're nothing to
That's always the best, though, to have your own team's defense to be good, because it makes their offense better.
Iron sharpens iron.
Probably part of why they say defense wins championships. I know it's not meant in exactly that thought, but I think that it can also work in that way as well. That it strengthens your offense by the practices that you get with them, because that's who you play against more often than anybody is your own team. So. Absolutely.
And then so Trey's numbers on the day was 4 out of 5 for 92 yards and a touchdown. And then Nate Sudfeld came in, who's expected to be the number 2, and he threw a touchdown pass on his first drive, or on his first play. He threw touchdown pass right to Ray McLeod, our free agent wide receiver acquisition. And Ray McLeod had 4 catches for 63 yards. He went off. Nice. He had a fumble at one point, unfortunately, like Antonio Gibson did. But, great game besides that.
I mean, I don't know if he has a history of that or not. I mean, fumbles happen in the NFL, so you can't.
Yeah, no, he doesn't really have it.
Oh, he had a fumble,
history.
So then it shouldn't be a big deal.
No, I was just mentioning that as that was probably the only thing he did wrong. But he had 4 catches, 63 yards, and a touchdown, so he had a great game.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if he played a whole game and stayed on track with that, damn.
And then Sudfeld as the backup was 8 of 11, 103 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks.
Wow.
He had a good game. Jermichael Hasty, who we like, 5 carries for 36 yards. Always like to see Jermichael Hasty do well. He's stepped up for us the last couple seasons when we've had injuries at running back and done some good things for us.
Definitely.
And let's see here. Oren Burks, who we signed as, I know we've mentioned him on the show. He was the Packers linebacker we got for special teams. He ended up playing damn near the whole game, and he had 8 or 9 tackles. So want to mention him. He was zipping and zooming all around the field, making plays. So definitely some good plays. Drake Jackson, our second round, the first pick that we had since we didn't have a first round pick. He played a lot of snaps, ended up leaving at one point with an injured shoulder, but Kyle says it's nothing serious. They're just going to keep an eye on that, so good news there. But he made a couple tackles in the backfield, so you like to see that. And I'm just trying to think of if anybody else really stood out to me worth mentioning. Of course. Sammy Womack, our fifth-round cornerback, had 2 interceptions. Jordan Love, who played the entire first half for the Packers, threw 3 picks. 2 to Sammy Womack and 1 to one of our backup linebackers. And, yes, Samuel Womack had 2 of them. So
man, the Packers would just be absolutely nothing without Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, Aaron. That's why he. God. It's hard to argue that he doesn't deserve that money because it's like he basically.
Yeah, no, he does.
Is your team.
He does. He does.
Yeah. Like anytime you're debating paying Aaron should just sit on the bench and make them put Jordan Love in.
Right. Exactly.
Like, all right, well, let's see.
We'll see how long this lasts before you give me what I'm asking for.
Yeah. Kamoko Toure also stepped up. I know we've mentioned Kamoko on the show. He's a former second-round pick of the Colts that has had a bunch of injury problems. He played really well. He's trying to make that deep defensive line, but our line's deep, man. I mean, especially with Kinlaw coming back, and we got Bosa, we got Drake Jackson, we got Eric Armstead. We got a lot of good guys on that defensive line.
Yeah, hopefully they can play as well as they did last year. I mean, third best in the NFL. You can't really hope for better than that. I mean, obviously you hope for the first, but third best is like, that's pretty good. I'd be happy with that any day.
D'Amico Ryan's a hell of a job for a first-year defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
hell of
absolutely.
A job. Yeah.
Jesus.
Going from Salah to him was nice.
And that was scary, too, when you lost Salah. I was like,
God,
no, not him.
I love Salah, because, I mean, we got to keep him.
You knew it was coming, though.
Yeah, I know.
You got him the 1 year, and then you knew it was coming, though. You're like,
we managed to keep him for 1 more year after the Super Bowl, and I was like, I don't know how that man isn't a head coach. I mean, even now, like, I just feel like he's going to break out. I mean, that man seems to have no good luck with his quarterback going down, but, I feel like something's going to happen for him, even if Joe Flacco has to go win him some games. All right, so last thing worth mentioning. Oh, also, just to give Robbie his props, because I always like to give Robbie his props. Robbie drilled a 50-yard field goal in the game, so always good to see that.
Always good.
And the Niners cut down to 85 players today. So they released 5 unfortunate souls. Fullback Josh Hokett was released, which, with juice, you knew he wasn't making the team.
Yeah.
Wide receiver Keyshawn Johnson, not Keyshawn Johnson from the Buccaneers that won the Super Bowl. This is a different Keyshawn Johnson.
That's where I knew the name from. I'm like, I've heard that before.
Yeah. Keyshawn Johnson did catch the 2-point conversion in the game that we just played, so he made a couple good plays in that game. So, you can hope that he made enough of an impression to maybe catch on with another squad somewhere, maybe. And then we also had Robert Kimdichie. Yeah, we'll just say Kimdichie. So Robert Kimdichie, who was a former first-round pick of the Arizona Cardinals. He's had a rather unfortunate NFL career. He was brought in with a lot of hype, obviously being a former first-round pick, and he just, he's been suspended a couple times. I think he's failed some drug tests, and he just has not been the player that they thought. So the Niners took a shot on him. Obviously, we have Kevin Givens and a lot of other guys. Obviously, we mentioned Kinlaw. We have Kalia Davis, who we just drafted, who's been injured. So the Niners have enough other guys that he was expendable, obviously didn't do enough to impress, and got released. Right. And then the last and final guy is cornerback Darqueze Dennard. Now, what's notable about him is
Sorry.
What happened?
Just the name.
Sneeze?
No, the name just for some reason I thought it was funny. What was it again? Darqueze?
Yeah, Darqueze Dennard. Yeah, so he was he was signed for the Week 17 game last season against the Rams, when we had to win to get into the playoffs. And he ended up playing the guy had been on the team for less than a week, and he ended up having to play 30 snaps in that game. So he basically helped save our season. So he was on the bubble as a corner, but the Niners went out, and we got Charvarius Ward in free agency. We have Emmanuel Mosley. We have Samuel Womack, who's a rookie, who we just mentioned. So obviously, and then Jason Verrett, who we brought back. So we have enough talented players at corner. Obviously, they deemed him expendable, and not too surprising of a move. But that takes the roster down to 85 players. There's going to be another cut down before the season kicks off. So we'll definitely follow up with that. There's going to be a lot more players cut that time around, but that was the latest 5 to go anyway.
Yeah, we'll get to see more what the final roster is going to look like here soon. Oh, and that guy's name is Kim Dichie. So I was close. I said Kem Dichie. I was close, but
Robert Kim Dichie. Okay, yeah.
It's just Kim Dichie. Yeah, so that makes it. Okay. Once you see it once, it's that's not hard. But yeah, reading those N names with the N in the front, they're tricky. Throws you off.
Yeah, there we go. Robert Kim Dichie. All right. Well, that's better. That makes more sense. All right. Well, that's really all we have for preseason week 1. We'll definitely be back next week to recap our next preseason game, which is against.
Yeah, I was gonna actually. What time are
that
those?
It's against the Vikings because we're kicking off joint practices with the Vikings this week. So we'll see who gets action. I think they said something like 25 of the Niners players, and I know it was probably a similar thing with Washington, but 25 players didn't even suit up for the game. Obviously, those are guys like Debo, Ayuk, Bosa. No need to see them. Trent Williams,
exactly.
He's not playing. Yeah.
It's like Tom Brady. You're not going to see him in a single preseason game. That would be insane.
Why would you risk it all? Why would you risk some overzealous rookie linebacker trying to make a name for himself, hitting Tom at the knees and just ruining your season before it starts?
Right.
Ugh. Yeah. That's all bad. But yeah, join us next week. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. And that's going to do it for the Extra Point Show. Hope you guys enjoyed the show this week. No, it was a little bit different. Join us next week where we will probably bring you some fantasy-related stuff and also maybe some football-related picks. But if you like the show, definitely like and subscribe and check out some of our other clips.
Absolutely, man. It's definitely good to be back. We were on a break for a bit, so good to be back and rolling.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.